The plan today, this morning, is I'm going to do two gospel reflections. The first one is going to be for last week, last Sunday. The only reason why I'm doing that is because I didn't get a chance to upload one because I was traveling. I just did not have a means of uploading one. The only internet I had was my phone's hotspot, and that's not viable enough to upload a actual video to YouTube. I did go to a Novus Ordo Mass because that's all that's available in my hometown. So the gospel reflection is going to be on that reading, and that's on the road to Emmaus, and that is one of my favorite passages in the Bible, and I will explain that in the reflection. And then the second one is going to be for tomorrow's gospel, TLM gospel, because that's what I'm going to. So yeah, like I said, I always do these for the Mass, the gospel for the Mass that I'm going to. Let's hop into the first gospel reflection here. I'm just going to change scenes. So the reason this is one of my favorite gospels is I think that the road to Emmaus is a perfect model for us to follow for evangelization. And it was actually my last year in Focus that I had this kind of be the theme for our team for mission that year. So I'll kind of walk you through what I see as a model for us to follow for evangelization. So a little bit of background first. The two disciples were leaving Jerusalem and they were distraught, right? They had this idea of what was going to happen, this Messiah. They had what they thought was the plan for the redemption of Israel. And that's not what happened. So they're leaving. Even though they talked about all these things that they saw, they heard, they didn't believe. And I think it's because they were too hard set on their own plan, their own ideas, and kind of, just looking at themselves or looking at everything from their own somewhat selfish perspective, right? And then Jesus comes to them. And their eyes were prevented from recognizing him. And in mission, that can be a lot of things. There can be a lot of things that prevent somebody from realizing truth, recognizing Jesus. And that's one thing we have to account for. And one of the things that Jesus does here is he listens to them. And I think that's the first step in mission, is to understand. You can understand somebody and see into their heart when you listen to them, and that's a very important thing. And the one thing that I told my team a lot is that the key part here is Jesus himself. And the only way we can do that is if we ourselves receive Jesus to the point that we can be Christ to others. So when we approach others in mission, let us be Christ himself to them. And again, first thing to do is to listen. Jesus walks with them, right? They all walk together. And that's another thing that we do, is when we listen, we walk with people. We share life with them. And then, after telling them, like, yeah, we thought all this was going to happen, we saw these things, and it's very clear that they still didn't really believe what was happening because they were leaving. Jesus calls them out. He says, how foolish you are. And that's another piece of evangelization. I think that people can kind of tread too lightly on. And in my experience, that's not good. I think it's very important in mission to be very clear with people what you believe, what is truth. Because if you yourself come off as a little wishy-washy in that regard, it's a lot more difficult for them to believe you, right? And I don't think you should condemn people, obviously. Like, don't do it violently. But you can do it in a very charitable, loving way. To really call somebody out and say, like, that's foolish, or, that's sinful. Like, call it for what it is. And people have more respect for that. I spoke about this before. I can't, again, I can never remember. I need to look this up at some point. If it's Penn or Teller, one of them had said that they themselves are atheists, but if they ever encounter a Christian, they fully expect them to try to evangelize them. He said, because if you really believe that you have the best thing there is, and you don't try to give that to me, that is just selfish. So, in the same way that it is an act of mercy to call somebody out, speak truth. And so that is an important part of it. And then Jesus opens the scriptures to them. And Bible studies are a very effective way to evangelize. I think if you're not reading the Bible when you're doing mission, you are missing a big piece there. And in this, it can kind of be inferred that Jesus went through the covenants with them, right? Basically showed them throughout salvation history where he was prophesied. He just showed them, like the Old Testament, to kind of show them, like, this is truth. Like, all these things happen for what reason? And kind of let them interpret it themselves in a way, like accept it themselves. He didn't force it upon them. He said, kind of took all the pieces together, right? And kind of showed them, like, he just kind of mapped everything out for them and showed it to them. And it's up to them to accept. And that's another key thing of evangelization. And then he was made known to them in the breaking of the bread. And that's Mass. And I think that if you are not bringing people to Mass, if you're not bringing them before the Eucharist in adoration, you are missing a huge piece. Because Jesus himself was revealed here. Like, even though he was physically present with them, he wasn't revealed to them or recognized by them until the breaking of the bread. And that is like the fullness of truth there. And that's the fullness of what our faith is. And then the last piece is that they went back to the apostles and said what they witnessed, right? And that's important because they're coming back to the church. These are the first bishops of our church, so they kind of went to the church. And so that's another piece, is that we need to bring people to the community of God's faithful. And you can kind of see too in here the experience of these two, when it talks about how, like, or are not our hearts burning within us while he spoke to us on the way and opened the scriptures to us? And that's like the perspective of the other side of evangelization that we should kind of expect and hear, that people are longing for Jesus. And yeah, I think this is a great model for us to follow. There's obviously more nuances to it, to evangelization. Each person is a little different, but I think generally you can follow this as a good example to follow for evangelization. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. What is my reflection on that personally? So that's just kind of a general thought on it. And now, what does it personally speak to me? To me, it's a great reminder as Jesus opens the scriptures to them that that's an area that I'm lacking in, and an area that I need to grow in more, is to open the scriptures more, to be able to bring Christ to others. We need to be fully filled by Christ. And yeah, that happens a lot through scriptures and regular reception of the sacraments. So really, to me, it's a callback to my life as a missionary and thinking about ways that what am I missing these days in my prayer life, my spiritual life, that I need to bring back, and to be able to be a better missionary disciple for Jesus in my current life. So those are my thoughts on that. If you have your own reflections, your own thoughts that you want to share, go ahead and put them in the comments below. If you really enjoy these, make sure to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to be notified every time these come out. Do them every Saturday for the Sunday Gospel, for the Mass that I will be attending. So this is for last Sunday. I didn't get a chance to upload this because I was traveling. I'm doing it today. And if you want to see these live and be part of the chat, these happen on twitch.tv/itseugen, as well as my YouTube channel, It's Eugen as well. And that's it for this Gospel Reflections. I will see you in the next one. Take care and God bless.